Hi everyone, it's Jackie at Spare Room Studio. I'm back to colouring Matchstick Mouse today. Matchstick Mouse, a big adventure colouring book by Morgan O'Brien. I have the original copy. My husband did a copy for me and spiral bound it so that I can experiment and play in this book. I've done some crayon copies and done some other things in it with my granddaughter. And I'm going to colour today with alcohol markers, but I've got this big box here of random Prismacolor Premier markers. There's some Zig writers, there's a bit of random stuff that doesn't really belong anywhere else, and I want to use some of these up because some of them are getting really old. I've used them quite a bit and they're starting to run dry, but I just want to run this set down completely, or this oddment down completely. So I'm just grabbing out some different blues there. So you'll hear me digging around in that a little bit. I've also got my trusty old plate here off to the side, and I'm going to have a go with the hand sanitizer, just because I want to have a play with that idea a little bit more. I do have with me also some colourless blenders that I bought. This Montmartre brand is a budget brand that you can pick up some different things like this. My white acrylic paint pen is that brand as well, and they're really reasonably priced, but they've worked really well for me. So I've got those there if I want them as well, but I'm going to jump in. The Prismacolor Premier alcohol markers, these ones I've had for many years. They're not a cheap marker. I don't think they're easily available now. I've got a few blotting pages there. I don't see them too often, and I think the few times I have looked them up, they've been very expensive, and straight away that one's already feeling quite dry. Go down the other end. Sometimes I find that if you go to the other end, you keep changing them back and forward, you can eke out enough colour to get by with these smaller areas. But I want to run them out completely, and then I'm going to get rid of them because I've got a lot of bits and pieces that I've collected over the years, oddments, and I would like to simplify the collection right down. And when it comes to things like alcohol markers and water-based markers and so on, there's a few different brands and sets that I really like and don't have any trouble with yellowing and all that sort of thing, that I might just stick to those few brands. I don't have a lot of shops here in Australia, or well, in my hometown anyway of Adelaide. There's not a lot of art stores to visit to go and buy things open stock, and when you do, I find that some of this sort of stuff can be really expensive, and it's a subject that's very dear to my heart that I've spoken about quite a few times, is that for example, this colouring that I'm doing is on a photocopied, I know that's not going to match the colour, let's go with it anyway, it's just a plate. What I can do sometimes when one is running dry, I use something that's a bit more juicy like that, and then use it to blend in together with the dry one, and you get a bit of a blend happening there. I've mentioned it several times now, and it's a subject that really is dear to my heart, about being frugal when it comes to buying my materials. And I just really cannot justify at this stage that I'm in the current season of my life. I can't justify paying a lot of money for alcohol markers and the like that I'm going to colour onto a photocopied piece of paper, or you know, it's going to be in a colouring book that is just going to be closed away, never to see the light of day again. You know, it might not be a book that I tend to go back and flip through very often. Some books I like to look through when I'm not colouring. I do like to go back and look through them and look at the pages that I've coloured, but they're really few and far between. And so for me, it's about the process. Once this page is coloured, it's done. You know, that's the process, the colouring the page. That's the enjoyment. And I take a photograph for Instagram, because Instagram's like my little visual diary or my little visual journal of what I've been doing. And a lot of those pictures I do not look at again unless I just happen to be flipping through the book to find another page to colour. And I can't justify spending a lot of money for supplies for something that's going to do that. Now, you might say to me, well, there's the enjoyment factor. You know, you can't put a value on having nice things to play with for your hobby that bring enjoyment, and they don't have to serve a purpose. The purpose is your hobby and so on. And having nice materials that work easily and, you know, are pleasurable to play with. You can't truly put a value on that. And I understand that, but not everyone is in a place financially that they can afford to just buy whatever they please and, you know, feel okay about using it in that way. So there's, you know, there's different strokes for different folks, isn't it? But my thinking is I'd like to get some of these, especially these ones that I know that are really on their last legs, get them used up, get rid of them, consolidate. You know, I've got this big tub here that's only half full, taking up space. You know, I need to consolidate some things, create some space, create some better storage so that I can access my stuff easily and I can be enjoying everything I've got easily. I'm very much in this frame of mind at the moment that I need to simplify down everything and make things as simple and easy and pleasurable to use, because to be honest, having the dog in our life at the moment is quite stressful. As lovely as he is, and I love having a dog around again, don't get me wrong, but his unpredictability with his nerves and so on, it's a lot to deal with. And it means that every day I am thinking about what's best for this dog. How's he going to cope with that? We've got someone coming around. What does that mean? How do we get him ready? He's got medication that he's on. And I'm not complaining. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining, but I am just saying that it is a stress. It is a joy in some ways when he has a good day and he's playing with us and showing love and affection back to us. It is fabulous. You know, we had a really good morning with him this morning before my husband went to work. He was really, really playful with my husband. He was being silly, he was being goofy. We had to have a vet visit today to talk about some medication changes. So, of course, that set him back again because it was a stranger in our house. He didn't like it. And my husband's gone to work, the vet's gone, Hamish has settled down, and now he's sleeping it off because, you know, stuff like that tends to take a lot out of him, and he's really tired afterwards. So he's currently sleeping that off, and when he wakes up, and I finish doing this in a little while, and he's woken up, he'll be ready to go out and play. And, you know, I might be able to practice some of our training stuff with him. And he'll need attention and so on again. So while all that is going on, and I'm dealing with the health issues and getting that all right at the moment, this little hobby of mine, this little colouring hobby of mine, it's my little happy zone. This is my little de-stress zone. You know, it has to be as easy as possible to be enjoyable, and that's what I want from it at the moment. And so that's what I'm sort of thinking about long term, is that I set myself up here with some supplies, storage, ways to work and so on, that I know without a shadow of a doubt that it's my little go-to, my little time to have for myself, you know, to de-stress and unwind, and make it so that I'm not so cranky and biting everyone, you know, everyone's head off that comes near me. Those things are all in place that I just, you know, I just have to sit down and colour without thinking about it too much. So that's what I'm hoping to do, and simplify down the collection of stuff that I have. Possibly even I've started to weed out some of the brands that I know are not performing exactly like I would like them to. So I've even got some odd Copic chows here that they're quite old now. I don't know if they're even going to work. There's a little bit there. But there is something to be said for getting a stock of supplies that I know some people only use polychromos, some people only use Prismacolor or whatever. And the beauty of that too is that you know your colours inside out, and you know when you pick up a colour that you're pretty certain of what it is going to look like when you use it. And there is something to be said for that as well. There are times where you like to play with stuff, and I like watching people on YouTube who trial out all these different things for us and do tests. One of my favourites is Art Journey Lily, and you know, she tries out all the different pens, and she loves doing that. She loves trying them all, swatching them, testing them, comparing colours and so on. And I hate it. I hate doing it. I like watching her do it, but I hate doing it myself. Like, that's, to me, that's just torture. I just want to sit and colour. I don't want to do all the other stuff. And so Lily, you know, she helps by doing those videos. It helps me a little bit to sort of know that without even buying something, I'm pretty certain from watching her videos sometimes that I'm not going to like something. There's no point me even buying it. And I'm thankful for people who will do that. But in my own little world here, what I tend to do is have, you know, those fallback things that I know every time that I'm going to like using it. And one of those would be, I'd say, I really like Faber-Castell Black Edition pencils. You haven't seen me using them since I've been doing videos, because I've not been using coloured pencils very much, but for a while there I was using them an awful lot, and I knew pretty much what the colours were going to look like. I was starting to know what books they best suited and so on. And then I complicated things, oops, trying to put the wrong lid on there. I complicated things for myself a lot, because then I went out and I bought Color in the big set. What else did I get? There was the Color. Some of the Brute Fooners. I've got Cray Art. Of course, I have Crayola. I'm pretty much sort of know what Crayola's going to do for me now. Same with the Polychromos. I've had them long enough that I know what they're going to work like for me. But I kept thinking I needed more and more colours, and I kept buying more different sets. But of course, some pencils don't play nicely together. You know, and this pencil collection's got rather out of hand when I'm not even using them at the moment. It's silly. The only thing that I do say to myself about that is that they're not going to go off. They're not going to dry up. They need nothing for upkeep. You know, they're packed away in pencil cases or in their original packaging. They're safe. They're not going to get broken. And they're going to be there waiting for me when I want to use them again. But I really don't need any more pencils at this point until I start using them again. So again, it's like everything. Some people thrive when they have that huge collection of different things to pull from. They thrive on that, and other people can have that same collection and feel hugely stressed by it. So I've never been one for telling people how many and what they should have of something, or brands or any of that sort of thing, because it's such a personal choice and preference how you feel about these things, that, you know, it does not suit everybody to be the same way. I think if you like that, go for it, because there's just so many nice things out there as well now. The choice can be a bit overwhelming. When I first started doing art classes and going to, school for lessons with it, especially here in Adelaide where I live, there wasn't a lot on offer, and everything was very expensive. Hugely expensive. And even to buy things, I ordered from Blick in the US a couple of times, because in the end, even though the postage costs were horrendous, it actually ended up being economical to save up my purchase for a few things at once and, get a good deal on the shipping and purchase things that way. And then, of course, Amazon has opened the world up in terms of variety and access to different products and different things. And it's almost become a double-edged sword for some of us. Yesterday, I went out for lunch with my family, because we have lots of birthdays in August in our family. And sometimes it's easier just to get grandparents together and what have you, and have one lunch in the middle, which happens to be my son's birthday tomorrow. and around his birthday we get together and go out for lunch or something, or dinner or whatever, and we celebrate the three of us having our birthdays all at once. It's my husband, myself and my son. And we went to this pub yesterday for lunch, which is on the river. Well, it's actually a harbour, in a harbour of the river, which is near where I live. And we've been there quite a few times. We know the place really well. The food's always really good. We're starting to get some favourites of things that we order as a go-to because we know that we're going to like it now. And we sat down yesterday with the menus. My son was a bit late getting there, and so the grandparents were all there, and my husband and I, and we were looking at the menu, and I said, it's almost a bit too much choice sometimes. There were so many nice sounding things on there that I just didn't know what to pick, and it was silly, like it was lunch, and I was getting decision fatigue from looking at the menu. So for some of us, it can be really difficult to make the choice when everything sounds so good. It can be difficult to make that choice. And I think that's what happens sometimes for me personally with hobby stuff. It all looks so enticing, it all looks really nice. I get sucked in by packaging and marketing. If something comes in a nice, quirky, box or packaging or something, it gets my attention. And I think, oh, I have to have that, I have to try that. And I know that I do it, and I'm still a sucker for it. It still gets me each time. So, sorry about this big noise. This is the method that I've got these stored in. It is very noisy. But there's too many of them to lay over the table all at once. I'm just going to try and speed things up here a bit. I'm taking a while to do something that's very simple. There's a little challenge that I had for myself here. I wondered how quickly I could get a Matchstick Mouse page coloured for you in alcohol markers on camera. See how long it takes. So this is a fun little drawing here, sort of jungle-like with worm, and I'm going to do Mouse's hat in red. I think I've already done her hat in red a few times, but it just seems right to do it in red. I like these pages to be nice and vibrant and saturated colour because they're such fun little drawings. I need a lighter red if I've got one. I know what I might do. I might use a bit of pink as well. Oh, this is called mulberry. What's this going to look like? Okay. So, yeah, I like these sorts of drawings. When I say simplified, I'm not meaning that in a detrimental or a dismissive manner, because sometimes simple drawings can be deceptively hard to colour. But I find this style of drawing, it's like R.J. Hampson's style. It's very illustrative and fun, and I just like these really, really bright, vibrant colours for this sort of thing. I don't I don't really like to use dark or sombre. I'm doing this here like she's actually got a solid mask on. I don't know if it's meant to be or that's just like a... don't overthink it, just go with it. It's a mask. That's it. Let's get a bit of yellowy gold if we can. That's more... what is this supposed to be? Deep yellow. Might have to get a bit of gold metallic pen on there, I think, eventually. Might be nice. And I'm going to go for some really bright green feathers. Like she's got parrot. Is that her ear or a feather? No, that's a feather. Like she's got a parrot feathers. Now that's a Zig writer. This is really old, and that's pigment ink. It says waterproof, but it's pigment ink. It's not the same as alcohol marker ink, but they work okay together. So I'm thinking a nice light colour on the end there. If I can find a nice light blue. This is what happens when you start using the ends of sets and so on. You don't always have the colour that you're hoping for. No, that's going to be too... I've got some scrap paper here. Oh no, that will be okay. I'm just going to do some blue on the end there. Don't know what sort of bird that is, but it's, you know, it's a colourful made up one. So these sorts of pictures for me, it's more about having fun with the colours and trying to get a balance of the colours. That's kind of the most important aspect to me of why I'm colouring. That looks quite dry. This one might be ready for, yep, that's ready for going. Yeah, it's just about colour and having fun, and it's not necessarily about being something believable or lifelike or predictable. It's a little bit dark for what I was hoping for. What about this one? I normally leave her eye white, but I felt like doing a colour there, and now that I've done it, I'm thinking that's awful. Let's do... She's got some white in her eye. And I want a pale pink if I can find one. What's this one? Baby pink. So these are quite old, but they're really quite nice. Zig Memory System, Kuretake, Zig Writer, Pigment Ink. I quite like the effect of them, and I actually picked these up on a trip to the US, which would have been 15 years ago, I think. That's when I picked these up. That's how long they've been sitting in my stash, and I used them a lot when I first got them, but then I bought other things and got distracted, and they've sat in this box ever since. I think we might make, should we make worm that colour? I know worms aren't really that colour in real life, but this isn't real life. This is Peach Bliss. It has the fine end and the bullet tip at the other end. And I was using them mostly at that time when I bought them. It was for sketchbook journaling and sketchbook work. And I used to do a lot of sort of Zen doodle type patterns, and then one of my favourite things used to be to collect motivational quotes that I read or saw, or even just something that had occurred to me myself and was an important message to remember. I'd write that down on the sketchbook page and then Zen doodle and decorate around it for my fun. And I was doing that before I found adult colouring books to colour in. So I used all of these markers and alcohol markers and things in those books. In fact, one day I should get one of those out and I'll show it to you, just so that you can see the sort of thing that I'm talking about. In fact, if you bear with me, I can probably put hands on one pretty easily. I'll just go and grab it. So I can't remember who the company is that makes these books, but I believe you can still get them. It might be Strathmore, something like that. It's a hard cardboard book, and they've got really thick cardstock in there. Very thick. This one's just a small one. I think it's A5 size. And I would just write a word or a saying or whatever was really important to me at that particular time, and then I would doodle around it. Generally I would do this in sort of front of the TV of an evening or whatever, and then I'd colour the pages. So I was using these particular alcohol markers to do this book. I do remember that. Very much sort of looking at the Zen doodle style patterns and graphic nature. It wasn't about perfect drawings either. It was trying to loosen up. This was sort of the beginning of me loosening up my style, hand-drawn mandalas rather than trying to get them perfectly balanced. Zen doodle flowing lines, just using colour. It was really about, I call it quietening the monkey mind. My monkey mind is when that constant chatter is there that's not necessarily healthy thoughts that you're thinking, and the background chatter that's going on, and you know, that little devil inside of you that's telling you you can't do things. And this was a period where that was troubling me a lot, and I used this as a way to close down that mental chatter a little bit. Some of them are really ugly. They're not particularly pretty at all. But I've always enjoyed just getting that ink on the paper and watching the flow of ink, playing with colours, clashing colours, not necessarily, you know, wanting to do something pretty, but it served its purpose at the time. And I've only kept a few of these little journals that I've done. Some of them have been burnt and destroyed, because once that message was down and I'd done all of this, I'd keep it for a short time, and then I would go back, and there would be, you know, some personal stuff that I might have written in there as well, and I just didn't want people reading that, so a lot of things got put in the fire. I actually burnt them. It was a bit of a cathartic release of letting go of some of this messaging that I'd been giving myself, and so they've been destroyed over the years, but a couple of them, like this little one, still hang around, and you know, some of these messages are still good to me now, even when I'm in a much better place. I've always been very critical of myself, especially when it comes to my artwork. Very, very, very critical of myself, and I got in my own way a lot of the time, and nobody ever criticised me as harshly as what I did for myself, but these were a little bit of a tool for trying to overcome some of that. And when I first started colouring in colouring books, I was still very uptight and wanting, you know, things to be just so, but I've now got to a point where I'm quite happy to share with you those pages that are not so pretty. There's one on Instagram the other day, buddy colour that I did with Axic Fumbles. It's really quite hideous, I feel, in my eyes. But to be completely transparent with you, it's important that I share that I still have those pages too. But the majority of the time, it's pretty much like I just chuckle at it and have a laugh now and think, my goodness, what was I thinking? But I can go with the flow a lot better now than what I was when I was creating this stuff. This was the very beginning of learning to just let whatever happen and let it be. And sometimes if there was something personal that I didn't want people to see, I've glued the pages together. It's still there, but I've managed to keep all the good stuff around it. So that's just a little idea of some of the stuff that I've done in my time, you know, with these particular tools. So yeah, some of these markers have been around an awful long time now, and they haven't dried up. The good thing about an alcohol marker is that that's going to be a bit too yellow or orange, I think. I know what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a warm grey. I picked up this cheap set of markers in Aldi. Creative Place graphic markers. And we'll give those a go. I have had this brand before, which is why I picked it up. And I'm not going to be able to get that open easily, am I? It's all stuck up. Okay, we'll live without those. So that's why I'm still willing to buy, you know, some small things like that, because I know that they're okay and I'm going to use them. Haven't really got the sort of colour, maybe. Yeah, maybe we'll go with this taupe. Haven't really quite got the colour that I wanted. I was thinking, you know, like a soft, warm grey, really basic, neutral colour that will make the other colours pop. So a lot of my artwork over the years, I have sold some. They've gone to good homes, hopefully. I know some of them have gone to one of my dear friends. She's supported my art over many years, and she's got a few of my watercolour pieces especially. I have a few of my own pieces framed and on my walls here now. In other houses I used to have all of my stuff on the wall, but I moved into this house and I wanted it to be a lot more simple and minimal in its decorations, so I actually gave away some to charity shops. I don't know if they were able to sell them. I've thrown a lot away. I've burnt a lot of work. Depending at various times of my life where my headspace has been. If it was sort of really personal stuff like the journals and the doodling and the writing and so on, it was burned and disposed of in that way. You know, I've given some work away. But for me personally now, creating my own stuff, I don't have a burning need to do it. I used to really sort of sit and enjoy creating all that stuff. But when you do that, it is a piece of yourself that you're sharing out with the world. And when it gets judged, it can be really difficult sometimes, because you put a lot of stuff, you know, a lot of yourself and a lot of your time and effort into your own artwork. And when people criticise it negatively, it's really difficult sometimes to keep going with that stuff. So that really annoys me when people rubbish someone else's creative work on social media especially. You don't need to do that. You're not an art critic. That person hasn't asked for their work to be critiqued that way. You know, so be kind. Give that person a bit of space. If they, you know, you don't like it, you don't actually have to say anything. You can just scroll by. If the person's put their work out into a forum where they're asking for some constructive, creative criticism, yeah, go for it. They're asking to have some feedback, and it can be done respectfully. You don't ever have to be rude and dismissive about somebody's creative work. It's just not needed. There's no space for that as far as I'm concerned. You know, it's okay to say you don't like something, but you don't need to be disparaging and try to persuade other people to come around to your way of thinking. When it comes to art, it's a very subjective, personal subject, you know, and there's space for all of us. There's space for everything. You know, unless someone is stealing another person's work or ideas, there's space for all of us to enjoy what we like. And I don't want to be told by somebody else that I should like or dislike something. I want to make my own decision about that. But, you know, we get these keyboard warriors who like to try and influence everything. And, you know, share their bitter and twisted view of something. And it's really not fair. So suffice to say, at the moment, I'm not doing that. I'm enjoying just doing this colouring. You know, I'm showing my support of other artists by buying the work that I like. And I don't rubbish other people's colouring books that I don't like. I just don't buy them. You know, I support the people I do enjoy by buying their work, and I keep stum about the other people's work that I don't like. There's space for all of it. That was a little bit of a rant, wasn't it? I didn't mean to get on my little soapbox rant there. But sometimes when you're chatting away like this, that's just the natural direction that conversation takes sometimes. So what I'm doing here is I'm just hopefully darkening up some of these areas by putting an extra layer of marker on top of that has dried. Because I don't have it looks like a lot of markers, but there's not a lot of range of colour here that I've got. So I'm just trying to make the best of what I have. I'm just going to do her little, I don't know if it's a beaded necklace or a lei or whatever it is, but there you go. It's going to be that colour. And what I might do now is I'll have a go with that hand sanitizer. I've sort of thought about these as being all pearls, but they could have been any colour. They could have been any colour beads, couldn't they? So let's just go over that and brighten that up a bit. Let's just make that a really bright set of beads. Multicoloured set of beads. So let's just do... I don't know why I thought that had to be all the same. But we can bring some different colour in there with that. I'm not sure what's going on in this picture, so I don't know what all these little bits of, I'm thinking it's paper. It might be like a ticker tape parade in a festival or a carnival or something. So let's just do some different colours with that. Here's another one of these zig writers. So yeah, the alcohol markers, the good thing about those is, and that's what I was saying before I got distracted by going and getting the journal, the good thing is if you do keep them closed, you know, make sure your cap is on tightly, that it is completely closed. And I store mine on their side. I have them lying in this tub. So they're on their side, and they've always been that way since I bought them. I've never stored them upright. So whether that has helped, I'm guessing it probably has, but storing them on their side with the cap tightly fitted, and mine are generally in a cupboard or somewhere that isn't out in the open. I've got one highlighter pen here that I keep with these just because I like a bit of fluorescent yellow every now and again. So I keep that one. It's a Faber-Castell, just a Faber-Castell water-based marker that I like to keep in there with them. So the markers, if they're stored correctly and put away and you look after them, they're actually going to last you quite a long time. Like these ones, some of them that are drying out, it is purely from use that they're drying out. I mean, some of these are just as wet and juicy as the day that I bought the marker, because I know that there are some colours that I used to use a lot more than others. So let's just put a little bit of extra that around there. And I'm just going to have a go with these, hand sanitizer. Oh, there goes one. These ones do roll around a lot. So what I've got here is I've got my old trusty ceramic plate. I'm just going to squeeze a little bit of hand sanitizer onto a plate. Just a little bit. And this is quite old. I think I bought this even, if it wasn't prior to COVID, it would have been around that time, just to have in a handbag. You know how we went crazy and we had little hand sanitizers everywhere that we went. So I don't know how old it is. It's probably quite old. And I'm going to just dab with this cotton bud, we call them here in Australia, but I know that some places call them Q-tips. And that's quite a big circle that it's dabbing. And I'm just going to do it around a few places just so that we get a little bit of variety of texture and stuff to look at other than just plain marker. It's already working down there, can you see that? It's already sucked the colour back out. So we could make lots of texture, or we can just do random dots. And I've just been dotting it, but I'm wondering if you just do a little bit of gentle manipulation there. You could also use it just gently wiping the page, and you can see a little bit of colour has come off onto that. I don't know if that will pick that up. Just a tiny bit of pink was on there then. You can see how it's already working on the hat there. So by all means, if you've got one of these colourless blender pens, use that. But if you don't, and you've got some hand sanitizer kicking around the house, and you don't have a colourless blender and you wish that you did, you can have a play. And I'm thinking you don't need a Q-tip. You can use one of those blending stumps. You could have a go trying something like a toothpick or a matchstick. What else? Maybe, you know, get a white pencil or something and dip the end of the pencil in and see whether that does anything. You know, you can experiment with all sorts of things. And all I'm looking to do with this is not for it to look like anything in particular, but I'm just looking for textural effects, so that instead of it being just a very flat, solid colour, there's actually something that looks like pebbles, or, you know, it's dirt, it's a rough surface, it's a gravelled surface. It's not just all, you know, a perfectly curated piece of dirt that she's walking down. She's not necessarily walking on a smooth roadway. I guess that's what I'm trying to get across. So you can play with all sorts of different, you know, size, I don't know, what do you, implement, I guess, way of actually applying the hand sanitizer. And where that's a little bit solid and dark, let's see if we can lighten that up on the end there. So this was definitely a Prismacolor Premier marker down here and in the sky, and it's working on that. The pigment ink, I'm just going to do a little bit there and see what happens on the pigment ink, whether it does anything at all. So in the sky here, I'm really just doing it so that you can see the effects that are working on it. And I don't know if they'll stay like that or whether I'll cover it up with some pencil after, I'm not sure. But for the purpose of this video, I just wanted to show you what hand sanitizer, I mean this is quite old, I mean it was $1, I don't know if it still would be $1 now to buy it. Let's get rid of that off of there because it's distracting, but it's a just a generic hand sanitizer, and I used it on the ceramic plate, just put a little bit there, dabbed at it with the cotton bud, and you know, off I went. So I just wanted to show that you can do some little experiments with that and play with it. It's less than an hour, and I would say this page is acceptable to be left as it is. It could have some metallic jelly roll pens added to it, or it could have some coloured pencil added to it for definition and so on, but that's how much the hand sanitizer has taken back out of that colour, and that's not even fully dry yet. You see those little fun effects there? So you can really play around with that. I've scraped off a bit of colour off of her fur. So what I could do there, where it hasn't necessarily worked like I wanted it to, when it's dry, you could, you know, potentially come back in with some more colour and fix some of that up. A little bit more of a dark area in here and there. And I'm going to call that finished. I may put some pencil on it, I'm not sure, but it's okay as it is. It's quite acceptable as a finished page, the way that it is. And that's bang on 1 hour. I've been talking while I've been doing it. I went off and showed you that journal. So that's how quick you can create a decent colouring page with alcohol markers in a book like this. So I will leave it there. Thank you for being with me today. I really appreciate you if you're still here at the end listening to me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye now.